to hear this. Our lovely speaker, some of us already met last year. So we are Lambert, CEO, PMI, please, the stage is yours.
Hello? Can you hear me? Yeah. If you can't hear me, raise your hand. Always good to see what the crowd's made of. All right, let me say a couple things before I get started, because I don't want you to hold any of this against me. I've done, since I got my artificial leg, I've done about 8 presentations. Now, I missed Atlanta Global because of this, and I heard that's where PMI officially endorsed AI. The Global Summit became the Global AI event. I got phone calls, what's going on? Have we changed PMI to AI? I said, no. So I questioned a few people. They said, no, of course not. Just because every speech was about AI, every presentation was about AI. But no, it's just one of those tools. Yeah. Well, I've been using the tool, the Chat GPT. I love that presentation. So I asked Chat GPT yesterday, I said, how many AI presentations will I hear before my brain explodes? And it's either this presentation or the next one in Denver, so good luck. Good luck. No, I have an admission to make. I made it to one person in the room already. It's about adaptability. One of the things PM people have to hear, adaptable. You don't have to kind of go with the punches. Well, weird thing is that I brought the wrong slides. Now, I've only done probably 300 or 400 of these, and the slides I brought were really nice. They really had nothing to do with this program. So I told the person I talked with, I'm going to test my adaptability, so I'm going to use the slides I brought, which are the wrong slides, and see if I can still communicate something worth of value, okay? And I don't want to get into that whole value discussion. That drives me crazy too. So let's talk about this in a way that I think we can use it. For one thing, I'm not against AI. People thought initially, because I'm kind of like an old guy in the club, that I want to stay with the old tradition. No, I'm not against AI. In fact, what got me excited about it was the word artificial. That to me, I mean, I kind of looked at myself and thought, now wait, I can make some sense out of this, because about 10 years ago, I was in a car accident and had my shoulder replaced. Then last October, I had my leg cut off. And before I came here, I had cataract surgery. And I just put my hearing aid in a few minutes ago. I am artificial. I am artificial. So you got to fall in line with it, you know? So I believe in it, but I believe in it in a little different way. I think AI has incredible possibilities, but I separate the users into kind of 2 categories. And most of the people that present on it talk about it in my first category, which I don't care to spend much time on. But there's innovators, people that use AI from an innovation standpoint. How can I create new, exciting things? Lots of PhDs, you know, PhD as a project manager, that's an oxymoron. There's no such thing. So most PhDs love AI. And I was doing a consulting job with Rush Hospitals in Chicago. And this concept of AI came up, and I started asking a few questions about it. And they said, well, do you want to test it? So what do you test it? He said, we've got a setup downstairs where you can actually conduct brain surgery with artificial intelligence. I said, well, hell yeah, I'm there for that. I'll go down and try that. So I spent about 2 hours. I was overwhelmed. But I do now have an honorary brain surgeon certificate. So if any of you have headaches or anything, I can take care of it. So I want to put that aside, because I was in Rochester, New York last week. They had an incredible black present on but it was all stuff that I would never use probably in my lifetime. But man, it has some really cool artwork, and I'm going like, oh yeah, that's interesting. What do you do with that? I want to do it from a project management standpoint, okay? So I want to talk a little bit about sort of a sequential thing. I still think that AI can participate in the definition of scope and the definition of what the project looks like. Put aside all miracles, talk about what you need, what you want, all that. Just think about it from the standpoint. Most of you, when you get a project, somebody's already done what you can do with AI to prepare to validate that project needs to be done. There's going to add value to the organization, okay? So I think that there's a use for that, but it's not one that I've only been in this business 55 years, so it may still happen. I'm going 48 years with PMI. I'm going 22 more years for my 70-year PIN. So if you get in America, I said 25 years, get real. That's nothing. Do it for 48 years and see if you can still stand up, which I can. And so let me give you some insight into how I discovered the fact that AI is not new. One of my first jobs where I actually was doing project management was with General Electric, a very well-known company, and it was on the Clinch River breeder reactor, so a power reactor in the U.S. And I guess I would have been called the controller, I guess America said I was God to the project. And my job was this: every month during monthly report time, my job was to amalgamate all the data from all the departments, from all the WBS elements, and put it in a format that senior management could get the sense of where are we on this reactor project. And I got thinking, no, that's AI. That was not really AI, but if I did this by hand, which I don't, I did it for 2 or 3 years, it would take me about a week. Because the only tool I had at that time, which is unfortunate, was a pen and paper. That was the tool I used to create that monthly report, okay? And it took a long time. I did some playing around with a limited number of data, and I could produce that same report using AI, again, formatted correctly. All about AI, it's all about you. That's what this program is about. Well, it's supposed to be about that. That's what it's about now, is that the users are the ones that do it. Now, we've had some discussion about the prompts, how do you write the prompts, all of that. Nothing happens with AI unless we have it. There's no, you can just sit there and watch it, it doesn't do a darn thing. And so you tell it what you want it to do, okay? So I can generate that same report in less than a minute. Less than a minute. Now people go, well, what's a big deal? Well, that gives the decision maker a lot more time to make decisions. One of the things we fall into the trap with project management, because of the lack of data, is we make bad decisions based on limited data. We make bad decisions based on not all the data. And so now with AI, you see, what I tell people now is if I had AI back in the, and you've been working in project management in the 60s? Well, if I had it back in the 60s, when I started in 66, oh my God, I'd be king of the project management world. Because I did a lot of the things you do with project management and AI by hand. So I was able to impact decisions at senior level, senior VPs, by presenting them with the kind of information that decision makers need. And so if you're a project manager, you can sort of resolve yourself the fact that AI is not going to do that much for you personally. It's going to allow you to provide decision support information to the person who actually makes the decision. Some of you may still be under the impression that you make decisions. That's a good one. No, you don't make decisions. Get real. Most project managers provide information to the person who does make the decisions. so follow the logic. Better information, better decisions. And so AI has a huge role to play, okay? A huge role to play. So let's say that we've figured out what it is we want to do, and we've defined that based on some artificial intelligence information where we can do some preliminary risk assessments. When we're doing those kinds of assessments, then you have to understand how valid is the data. We've heard these are all the AI things. How good is the information? Who put it in? Where did it come from? Yeah. So you got to do that. You have to validate. Don't accept it just carte blanche. It's too risky. And so you got to look at it from that perspective. If you, I have diabetes. Anybody else have diabetes? Somebody's got to join me here somewhere. No diabetes. Well, thank God, because you'll have your legs a lot longer than I did. And so when I did a risk assessment. I've had it about 30 years, okay? And I did a risk assessment based on if I continue to eat sugar, how long will I be able to keep my leg? And the answer came out about a week off. This is about a week off. And they warned me, don't leave the States. I was on a 5-country tour, started in Indonesia, ended in Lisbon. By the time started in India, my toe started changed color and looked like it was going to be a problem. But I self-medicate quite a bit. I do. There's a lot of things you can do to take some of the pain. So I self-medicated and it went away. The first time I dumped antibodies in there and it went away. I thought, that was easy. I should have eaten more candy. And so I started the trip. By the time I got to Indonesia, my one toe was pretty black. And I checked the color charts, they're not supposed to be black. And so I went to the doctor, and he said, yeah, it looks like it's getting black. I said, oh God, the U.S. doctor's going to tell me that. And so I said, but no, I got to go on. I got 5 cities. I'm not going to ruin the event. So by the time I got to Romania, it was pretty bad. Now, with diabetes, you don't get pain. You just get functionality issues. So the Romanian, great people, they said, oh, we're not taking a chance. We're taking you to the doctor. So they took me to the doctor. I think he has AI because he checked to see how bad it was and how bad it could get and what he was going to recommend. And he came back and said, yes, I think we should cut this off. I said, do you realize where I am? He said, you're in Romania, you're in the hospital in Romania. I said, yeah, that ain't happening. That's not going to happen. I'll go back to the U.S. where I know some people and let them take care of it. So he spent 15 minutes writing a letter saying that I refused his recommendation. So I presume they have insurance there too. And so there may have been lawyers on the door waiting, I don't know. So I went back, did my Lisbon pitch. I'm told I was not as coherent as I probably should have been. As soon as my pitch was done, they got me on an airplane, got me back home, and 48 hours later, missile leg. Now see, AI for diabetes, which is on a vertical curve in the U.S., can predict. It can predict how long you can allow non-management to go on before you pay a serious price. And so the uses are essentially unlimited. So when I get finally to say, I think we've defined what it is we want to do, what the project scope is, then I can start doing risk assessment and planning for real. And risk assessment this is my biggest, as some of you know, I have some involvement in the PMP. And I'm the expert. I hope you all get your PMP. It'd be awesome. But if you do, don't forget that you can also get a certification in risk management. And I think with AI coming on the scene as it has, risk management could almost look like fun. Because you can start to use a lot of scenarios and provide that kind of information to the senior decision maker. You see, when the senior guys now go do it, they're doing it on opinions, on personal agendas. When I was at GE, I learned this because now I wasn't at that level at GE. So every year, all the senior level, all the vice presidents essentially, went away for about a week to plan the next year. Okay? They're planning. Well, all organizations have them because some books are issued out. And so they go away to planning sessions and decide what projects you all are going to do next year, based on whatever those factors are. I'm not going to get into that. So, but we did some analysis, and I kind of helped them do it to determine how they make that decision. Because one of the other big benefits of AI is resource allocation information. When you start to allocate resources, you have to be aware that you're over-allocating. You got poor Bob committed to 4 jobs 30% of the time, and he's doing 30% maintenance on software, so he's really only available about 60% of the time. But yet, when you put his hours in, 100%. I was telling somebody last night, every project starts behind. Because we don't plan resource allocation. And if we do plan resource allocation, they say, well, we can't do that because we don't want to hire any more people. Well, then why'd you pick all those jobs? If you knew you had to have people, right, to do those jobs. Well, yeah, but we thought, well, they didn't think at all. That's the problem. So we did an analysis, and I talked to some of them. They usually go to these meetings, by the way, where there's sand and surf. Somehow it clears their mind from thinking a little bit better. And when they come back, they're pumped. They're ready to go. Okay? Well, so we did some investigation, and I got to tell you, this is what we found out. When they come back and over-allocate more, your organization is guilty of this, so I don't even have to talk to you. Your organization accepts more projects than they have people to do it. Okay? Now, if that's not the case, that would be very rare. So our question was, why do you do that? They didn't have a rationale. Well, what I investigated into that was that during those planning meetings, there's drugs involved. There's drugs. And I asked them, I said, you guys smoking a weed or what are you doing? And they said, no, what did I? So I asked them, well, why don't you accept more work into the system than you have people to deliver it? Well, it's drugs, obviously. And so, if I could corral those people before they have the meeting and shut down the cartels for a couple of weeks, then we could probably do a lot better planning. Because now with AI, I can play what-if scenarios till sundown shine. So now we have to pare those down to see, what's the probability of one of these events happening. That makes you look, and I'm really good at this, is creating the illusion that you're intelligent. And it doesn't matter if you really are. I learned that too. It doesn't matter if you are, if they think you are. And you can do that with AI. You can use AI to make them think you're smart. And so I endorse it 100%. 100%. I'm not getting ahead of anything, so you might be all right for today. But I think that you need to recognize that what you can become by using the concept of AI is far beyond what you've imagined. Okay? And the process that I use to advance in those areas is we have, in America especially, we have something called the shiny thing. And the way our business, PMI is guilty of it. I'm sorry to say, I wish Jennifer was still here. They have fallen for the shiny thing. And so as soon as that shiny thing happens, everybody gravitates to it. Okay? That's why every presentation is AI, because somebody said, well, damn, look at that thing shine. We better get involved in that quick. Well, what happens is that dies down. Because I've been with PMI for so long, I've been through several of these shining things cycles. And it started way back, some of you may not have even been around, back in the late 60s with earned value. Now, some organizations endorsed it, some didn't, mostly because the government said you will use earned value. Well, that became the shiny thing. Everybody wanted to put earned value in place. Everybody wanted to have a system. Everyone wanted to have the capability to do earned value reporting. And so that stayed for till 73. So it was about 66, stayed till 73 when I went to GE. My first project manager job dedicated was to teach 300 engineers how to use earned value. That should have taken 4 years, but it did. And so by the time I finished teaching everybody, the shine had worn off. And so I had to move on to something else. And thank God for Agile. Because that became the new shiny thing. And that shined much brighter than earned value. Much brighter. I mean, the whole world jumped on it. But some data that actually Jennifer showed us in a private session shows that the usage of Agile, the shine was already gone. Usage is going down. When the shine first happened, usage was going up. Everything had to be Agile. If you were Agile, you were with it. And so everybody jumped to it. Everybody got their PMI response following. If that's the shiny thing, then we got to have courses on it. We've got to train people how to do it. So we bought a company out of Canada, Disciplined Agile, and they said, we'll make you part of PMI, and then they'll think PMI had it all along. And so that's what we did, and all of a sudden, everybody's talking Agile. Scrum Masters, and oh my God, the language is crazy. And so everybody's doing it, okay? And then they said, well, listen, if a little of this is good, what the hell if we used a lot of it? I said, what do you mean by that? I said, well, on construction projects, on road projects, on physical development projects. Well, they tried that. It doesn't work. It doesn't work on those kinds of projects. There are still some diehards that continue to say it will, but it doesn't. Think about it. The whole concept of Agile is about adaptability to changing conditions, right? I mean, I think Americans said that very well. Everything is driven by change in these situations. And so when you look at that, you say, well, the design of a building should be pretty static. Sure. Yeah, it definitely should be static, but it isn't. And one of the difficulties project managers have to face all the time is a moving target. Okay, here comes AI again. What does AI do for a moving target? What's it do for you as a project manager? Okay, you two guys, I've been watching your face. You act like you know a lot, so let's talk about it. So what would AI do for you in a rapid change environment? It would do nothing. Okay, I misread you. So it doesn't literally do anything, but what it gives you is the ability to do impact analysis. You say, if Bob, the senior guy who doesn't know Jack from Jack, decides he wants this, then you have to make them think it's their idea. Okay? So you use AI to create data that says, "Bob, are you nuts?" But says it in a very nice way. and you don't fall under any suspicion because I'm just using AI. I'm just telling you what the data says. And so you come clean. So I see the way that we can handle change. And by the way, change is the next big thing. It's starting to find its way already. Change management courses, change management books. It's everybody knows in projects, there's no such thing as a static project. It's just never happened. I must have managed at least a couple, and I can't ever remember one looking the same as when it finishes it did when it started. And so you have to have data. Now what you can do with AI is you can start to build up a record. We used to call them back in the old days when there wasn't AI, we called them as-builts. So you got a drawing that says this is what it looks like, and then when you're all done, you find out what it really looks like, and you record that. So the next person that comes with that kind of project can benefit from it. We've talked about that all day long. Can benefit from that. So again, I have real life examples. I moved from California to the state of Washington, Richmond, Washington. It's in the southeast corner. Have any of you been to Washington? Don't bother. It is the armpit of America, okay? It's just like Vegas without the casinos. And so we wanted to move there, and my wife, we had just purchased a home in California where it was way overpriced. And at the pool, I mean, this was our retirement home. I think I was 30 years old at the time. It was our retirement home, and she loved it, and my kids loved it. And so after we'd been in that house 6 weeks, I suggested we might want to move. She said, you might want to move. I'm not moving anywhere. This is where I want to be. And I said, well, listen, there's an opportunity to start up a whole new division. I said, you really got, this is an opportunity you can't pass up. You can't pass it up. And she said, well, you're passing it up. I said, no, come on. At least why don't you go with me? Check it out. Maybe that's nice enough. You'll agree to live there. Okay. Now we'd been married 7 or 8 years by then. We ended up at 55 years. She passed away 3 years ago, so I still celebrate. We're 58 years married. Talk about a ball and chain, people. And so I said, well, at least come up with this takeaway. So she said, all right. I said, I'm not moving. Okay, so we get in it used to be called Hughes Air West, the big banana, big yellow plane. And it rode up to Pasco, Washington. And this was in July. Now, as I said, it's high, it's desert. So they didn't have jetways back in those days. And so we're getting out of the plane, walking down the stairs. I'm walking down, she's walking down behind me. And I get to the bottom, turn around and look, and she's going back up. I said, what are you doing? She said, I'm not living here. There's no darn way. I said, well, could we at least talk about it? She said, well, yeah, we can. So we talked about it. I said, besides that, you know where that place is going. You can't still get back on it. So we talked, and we negotiated. Mariota knows about negotiation, absolutely. She's making a living off of them. And so we negotiated, and we ended up on an agreement. I get to take the new job at a national ladder first, big time job. And she gets a new house on the country club, and I put a pool in. I said, that's what it takes. She said, that's what it takes. So we moved. And so we got into the house. We had to wait for it to be built. So we lived with, this was an experience, we lived with her mother for a while. So we were keeping close track of that schedule. And so finally we got in. We're in about maybe a month, maybe it's March by now. And she comes to me one day and she says, where's my pool? I said, wait a minute. She said, you said I was going to get a pool. I said, well, patience. She said, no, it's going to be summer soon. I need a pool. So I said, okay. So we took the design from California and took it up there with us and said, I want you to build that pool on my lot. And the guy says, okay, we'll do that. No problem. But you need to call the city and check with them about where the property lines are. And the gas, the utility lines. And so I did. I called them up and she was very sweet. I told her where we live. She said, okay, look, if you dig your pool 6 feet in from the fence line, you should be fine. You should be fine. So that made me happy because the next day they were coming to dig. And so they came in and they got that big hole, knocked down my fence, got in there, took the first scoop. Took out the entire utility system for the developer. You want to meet people fast. I didn't say make friends, did I? I said, and so I called the lady back, and obviously I was a little bit angry. And she said, well, give me some time. So she called me back and said, well, listen. I said, I'm so sorry. We found asphalt runs. And it shows that we had to move because of hard pan. We had to move the utility lines in 3 feet. She said, I'm sorry. I said, well, you shouldn't be, because I got a mess on my hands there. That's an as-built. Now, what? They made as-bills, but what happened? Nobody looked at them. Nobody looked at them. Now, if you're really in a safe situation, the people that are going to dig would have looked at them. They would have made sure as well. I mean, they're almost as liable as I am. So as-built drawings, as we call them back in those days, as-built information is your key to the kingdom. Because based on as-builts, you're getting a picture of what really happened. Not what we thought might happen, but what really happened. So what's the next question? Okay, we'll give you a shot. What's the next question?
Hard to answer.
The next question is, what's the likelihood of that happening again? That's the issue. Having the as-built information is wonderful. That's great. But what's the probability that occurred again? And if it's, I used to work with senior level people, insurance companies, and they brought me in to do some risk stuff, and I did it for them. They said, we've had 7 of 9 projects go south in the last year. I want to know, and they seem to have some commonality to it. I want to get an idea of what's causing this. So I did a study, made a lot of money, and came back to him, and I said, well, listen, we found out what it was. On about 8 of the 10 that you referred me to, the same thing happened that caused it to fail. And this guy goes, he's happy. He gets a big smile on his face. I said, what, did you hear what I said? The same thing's happening every time. He said, I know, but this is good news. I said, why is it good news? Because if it's happened 9 out of 10 times, it won't happen again. That guy's making big money. Now, if I can go to that guy and show him data, data's the magic word. If you got data, you got information, it ain't worth jack unless you got data. And so with AI, you got more data than you ever use. And so I didn't like my slide better. That was for another show. I'll give you that later. But I do want to leave that slide up because I want to point out to you, and I think America said it well, we're all stakeholders. We're all stakeholders. The customers are stakeholders. The people that work for you and with you are stakeholders. And we have to be able to communicate with them in a way that they understand what they're being asked to do and why they're being asked to do it. And if you don't do that, you're not going to get what we call buy-in. Now, in the sports world, that's a big issue, as it should be in project management. In the sports world, the big coaches, the ones that are really successful, when they do their post-game interviews, one of the things always that they say is that, well, our guys have bought into what we're selling. In other words, they're supporting the process. These football players that go and get beat up every day, day in and day out, end up in the hospital, and they ask them, I said, no, we buy in. That's what we know we need to do. That's what I want my team to look like. I want my team, at least half of them should be in the hospital every week. You got to do what you got to do, you see. And if my objective as a project manager is to finish the project on time within budget, and oh yes, have a happy customer, then I've got to do what I've got to do. I practiced this on a project that was it was a $1 billion company. It was a diabetes. Nobody's diabetic. It's a little home use reading of blood glucose levels, so you know when you can take your medication. So they've been beaten in the marketplace. It was a German company called Ljubljana. They've been beaten in the marketplace by Johnson & Johnson, and they were losing market share of 3 market share points a month, and each market share point was $3 million on the bottom line. So it started to look like real money. So they panicked. And their marketing people said, if you don't get a new product out that's better than Johnson & Johnson's in a 3-year time frame, you're going to be out of business. You're going to be out of business. So they brought me in, after about 7 people they rejected, they brought me in to manage this project. And my guidance was, get this done in 3 years. That was basically the guidance. I said I'd be happy to do it under 3 conditions. And the guy that I was negotiating with was 6'8", 380, hated people. Hated people. And so he said, what do you want? I said, well, first of all, I want all the money. And he thought I was joking. He said, what do you mean all the money? I said, I want all the money. if you want me to create a miracle, then I'm going to need to have whatever I need to have with no reservation. He goes, okay. Well, I've never got one of those before. And he said, okay, what else you want? I said, well, the second thing I want is I want to handpick the people. We had estimated about 200 people to run this project. We want to handpick the people. He said, well, you can't do that. You don't know these people. They're scattered all over this campus. I said, I'll interview them all. And I said, I'll pick the 200. And I want to be able to do, I don't want any of the functional managers hosing in. Don't give me the guy that runs the engineering department and have him tell me who I can use. No, I pick him. He said, okay. I'm thinking at this point, car, plane maybe. So I'll stick to the plan. And so he said, what's your third thing? I said, well, the third thing. And I walked over to the window in his office and I said, what's that building over there? He said, that's our new RD building. We're staffing that with Germans. Dr. Muller's coming in and starting to occupy it now. Why? And I said, well, that's a nice building. That would be a nice place to be. If you were to change your mind about me having a building, that would be the one I'd want. Can't do it. I said, Muller would never forget. Your Miller was kind of, he wouldn't forget. And so I said, okay, well, listen, we were so close. We were so close. Now remember, when you take a risk like that, you're risking your reputation. Because if you take that on and it fails, it disproves all the things you said for all these years. It says basically it's all talk. Okay? So I looked at this opportunity. But I said, I do want those three things to give me the best chance of success. So I said, if you change your mind, give me a call. And so I drove back to Columbus, Ohio. It was about a 3-hour drive. And that was on a Friday night. Monday morning, Jack called. And he said, you know that building you were asking me about? I said, of course I did. He said, it's yours. It's yours. It's yours. Now, he's no fool, because what did he just do? What did he just do? Smart guy. I'm sure not later I found out how smart he was. What did he just do? He called my bluff. He called my bluff. He said, okay, Lee, I'm going to give you all that stuff. You better by damn finish it. So he put it right back on me, you see. I was trying to get it on him, he put it right back on me. And so we started the project. We're in about 200 people. I met them all, said, you're going to work harder than you've ever worked before, blah, blah, blah. And I said, if you can't buy in, step back. Now's the time. I won't hold it against you. If you don't want to do it, if you can't make that kind of a commitment, step back. So 7 people stepped back. So out of 200 and some people, 7 people stood back. The rest of them said, no, we're here for it. Okay? So we started the project, and I'll just short-circuit this and say we finished the project in 18 months. Not 3 years. 18 months. And Jack wanted to set aside a $5 million bonus pool if we finished on time and we divided up among the 200 people. $5 million. Okay? He said, what do you think about that, Lee? Kind of smart ass look on his face. He said, what do you think about that? I said, I think that's the dumbest idea I ever heard, Jack. Now, my wife never forgave me for that. He said, what do you mean? I said, I don't think they'll do it. I said, but it's not my call. I'm a contractor. Let me talk to the team and see if they're willing to accept that $5 million bonus to them. So I talked to the team. We spent about 2 hours on the topic and voted, and all but about 7 or 8 people voted against the pool, against the resource pool. And so I went back and told Jack, and he was irate, as you can imagine. He said, what are they thinking? I said, well, I asked him that. I asked him why. They said, well, the thing is, when you establish a bonus pool like that, the implication is you're not doing your best job already, and I have to hold money out in front of you to get you to do your job the way you're supposed to do it. And he said, they don't want any part of it. They did say, however, if you want to do anything spontaneously, without us knowing, because they don't want, GE had this concept where they hold a carrot out, and just as you reach the tip, they pull it back a little farther, and that goes on for years in general. And so they said they don't want to do that. But if you want to just come up with something, if we're successful, then they don't have a problem with that. He grudgingly said, okay. So we delivered. We got it done in 18 months. I had 50,000 units in the warehouse. And Jack came down and he said, well, I'll live up to my word. He said, I'm sending you and your significant others to Hawaii for 2 weeks on me. Not a single person turned that down. Not a single person. They seemed to be okay with that. And I said, oh, this is going to be fun. He said, you ain't going. What do you mean I'm not going? He said, you're a contractor.
Oh.
We don't reward contractors. You get paid money, but we don't give you benefits. So they went. I ended up going on my own, paying the bill just to piss them off. So we had a good time with that, okay? And it was time for my contract to be up. He kept it over about 6 months from what we originally had. I went into him on Monday and I said, Jack, I'm going home. He said, no, you can't. I said, what do you mean I can't? He said, no, we need you. We need you. He said, we got 2 more projects just like that one. We want you to run. I said, no, with those people you don't. You only go to the well once, okay? When you go to the well more than once, it becomes a habit. In our business of project management, every project that finishes well and on time and in budget is a miracle. And I said, I don't know if you need explanation, Jack, what a miracle is, but I'm not doing it again. I said, give me a new team, give me new people, and I'll do it. And he said, no, you have to work with what we got. I said, I'm going home. I told you that already. He said, you can't go. I said, you have no way to hold me here. Here's my contract. It's expired already. So I'm leaving. He said, okay, listen, we really need you, but I'll tell you what Lee said. If I were to give you a check for $30,000, would you agree to come back if we needed you? Would you agree to drop what you're doing and come back if we needed you? How long do you think I thought about that? Yeah, maybe 10 seconds. I said, yeah, that sounds like a deal, Jack. I'll go for it. So on Friday, when I'm getting ready to go by, hands me a check for $30,000. $30,000, that's a lot of money, okay? $30,000. So I drove back feeling pretty good about the day's work. Well, the interesting part of that story is that he never called. Now, somebody that knows how to use AI can translate that into a per hour rate. 30,000 times 0 is 30,000 in the bank. Never called. Never called. So you start to look at that and you realize we created a miracle. PMI actually wrote it up. It's a miracle project in a magazine. It was unheard. And it wasn't for me because people bought in. Here's our average work day. So this will get you fired up. Our average work day is 14 hours a day, 7 days a week for 18 months. Nobody bitched about it. Never had to put pressure on anybody to do it. Many people spend more than 14 hours. In fact, I used to get calls from spouses. Is there any chance my husband or wife come home soon? So, and so they didn't know. So we used to have events where we bring the family in so they understood what mom and dad were doing. During that program, we had 9 babies born. Nine babies in 18 months. That's pretty good. That's a high productivity rate. And so as soon as I heard about the 9th baby, I called that guy up and I said, what the hell are you guys doing at night? I said, if you're not working, what are you doing? And so we I'll never get that, I'll never replicate that, I'll never have an opportunity to. But project management is more than a job. It's really an opportunity. It's what you make of it. If you just go to work every day and say, I'm going to do my job, it's not enough. Personally, you don't get much satisfaction in that. How'd your day go, honey? Another day at the office. I wish I could get out of that job so I could go over there where Bob is. He sucks over there too, but I'll give it a shot there. And so you start to look, the grass is always greener on the other side of the street. So what I always did was try to make the most of where I was. Everybody didn't like me, everybody didn't like what I said, but if you can back it with facts, now if it's just your opinion, that's a little different. But with AI, you see, this puts me in a position I can manipulate things honestly by taking advantage of the AI concept. I think we need to do that, okay? So here's what I'll suggest you do. How many minutes do I have left?
5.
5. Look, see, that was an arbitrary decision. Did you see that?
I don't need much, I need.
So here's my career path, and now based on AI, it's stronger. When you take your first job, most of you are not first job people, but you might, some of you might be. You take your first job, the reason you take that job is money. Money. Very rarely does someone turn down the first offer because there isn't enough money. Your dad forced you to have any money. And so you take the job because you need it. Baby needs shoes, Mercedes payments, mortgages. You got all these things. You say, well, why don't you just quit? Well, because I'd be bankrupt if I quit. And so the first job in that period of time is when you're making your mark. That's when you're learning what it takes to be effective. You don't know that going in. These people, that's why I'm a little bit concerned with PMP, 3 years of experience. I don't know. I mean, that's not the standard, so I can't complain. But it seems like maybe more experience would be better. Because what we want to do is validate that PMP says something about you that's valid. Not that you pass the test. That's easy. That's the easy part. So the first 7 years or so is learning your trade. And also, not only learning your trade, learning if that's what you want your trade to be. I started as an engineer. I'm an engineer trained. I got LS, as I feel. That sucked. I mean, the first thing they did was start asking me to work. and you know, I don't mind work, I just don't want to do a lot of it. And so I got into training as fast as I could. Because it's not work. For me, it's not work. I do this probably 60, 80 times a year. Been in 51 countries, 80 PMI chapters, and I just keep doing it. I love it. Because the feeling that I get is that when I'm done making the presentation, even if 10% of you file away one thing that I've said today, it's been a good day. It's been a good day. And instructors, trainers, know when you had a bad day. I've had bad days, no doubt about that. But you really have a chance, I have a chance, to impact literally thousands of people. And the way I see it is I can have a lot bigger impact on the profession doing what I do than being a really, really big project manager in a company. So you get, after that initial period, you're trying to decide. Then the next jump is for what you want to do. That's your career choice. One's a job, 2 is your choice of careers. So you make that investigation over those 7 years. Now you say, no, this is what I want to do. And it took me almost exactly 7 years to get into training with General Electric. And you go through that process. And then that process is the second step. And that usually takes, well, it can vary from 12 to 15 to 20 years. And when you get into that career position, you say to yourself, damn, Mike, I kind of like this. I like this one. It's a great time to get to know people, get to work in groups, collaboration, all that stuff we talked about. And so that career becomes your lifetime. That career becomes something you're happy with and you want to keep doing. Now, if you get to the next level, there is a next level. Some of you, you've heard some upstairs. The next level is called a calling. And this is the person that would do what he or she does anytime, anywhere, for any amount of money or no money. That's a calling. Some of them call them priests. Some of them call them, if you've ever seen Joel Osteen, do you guys get Joel Osteen? He's a Christian, whatever. He packs them in Houston, 10,000 a Sunday. And I watch him on TV, and I'm not a religious guy, but he mesmerizes me. And he's all done, he said, damn, I want to join that. It's sort of like who was that guy in the jungle? And Jones. Jim Jones. Remember Jim Jones? Jim Jones was a perfect guy for project management. Anybody that can talk 805 people that drinking poison and laying around until you die, I want him as president. I want him as president. So that's kind of my story. AI is at the center of everything we're going to do. Whether that shine will wear off, I'm not sure. But I think the potential is much higher than Agile was, certainly much higher than Earned Value was. I think there's some real opportunities to take the concept of AI and make it your own. Make it your own. Don't listen to somebody else to tell you what it needs to be. Decide what kind of information you need to provide decision makers, and that'll be your road to heaven. And the best thing you can do, as America says, is keep your customer happy. When you're working for a senior vice president, you take that person where they need to be good. You make them look good. Your time will come, but you make those people look good by how you can use AI data right now. Okay? All right, any questions? I'm going over talking, sorry. Any questions? Any questions? If you ask me questions, it might be a problem. Because my hearing is running out of power. So, so I'm going to have to ask it a couple of times. No, any question? I told some of the people last time, I've got answers. I've got answers.
So, you mentioned you were using generative AI.
Oh my God! We're around a big circle. What was the question?
You mentioned you were using generative AI models. Have you been using also the PMI Infinity or?
Yeah.
So, any suggestions?
Yeah, well, get to the heart of your question. You sort of went around it. Go ahead.
That's the question.
Is that, that's the question? Well, I'll tell you what, the thing that you're going to see, which we've already seen, is that the shiny thing starts to take precedent. If you look at the PMI, the PMI, 6th edition started to integrate a lot of Agile stuff. Okay? The exam now, I'm told, I can't see the exam, but I'm told by people who take it, is 70% Agile. But the data that she showed yesterday, Agile is only being used by 46% of the projects. No, 4 points. A very small number. So now are they going to go back and erase all that stuff out of the PMI? No, of course not. They just keep moving forward. So then they switch to the principle base. That's a whole new ballgame. And now number 8, who knows what's going to come on number 8. But the fact of the matter is, I don't care about that. I kind of get sick of people complaining about how hard the exam is. I mean, I'm sad for you. I mean, it's crying me a freaking river. The fact of the matter is, it represents the profession, whether you like it or not. And if the standard maker is the holder of the gold, then you better pay attention. And what we've got to do that we haven't done well is we have to make sure we validate that somebody just doesn't practice to study the test to pass the test. I don't want that. If you tell me, I went to a boot camp, man, I went 4 days in intense training, we took the exam on the 5th day, and I passed. And then you go back to your organization and you manage the same crappy way you always did. But you're certified now. And so we run that risk. You see, when you look at PMI, frankly, without PMP, and then subsequently you have to see it and others, but without them, frankly, I'm not sure PMI really exists. 1.5 million PMPs. If you do the math, I don't have. When I first came in and saw those rabbits on the street, I thought this was a birth control session. We can convert that number easily into the amount of money that people pay. It's a lot, not a lot. Some people have to take it twice. And they have to pay again if they wait too long. So what I tell people is, if you've got it, don't ever let it get away. Because if you want it and you need it for your job, you'll have to take it again if you let it pass. So I watch my LinkedIn pretty closely. I'm 100,000 people on LinkedIn. I watch it closely And when they say they renewed their PMP, I immediately congratulate them on that. It's just something you don't want to let lapse. It's not worth it. Okay, that's all I want to say. That's more than I want to say. But I'll take any other questions, valid questions. I like that.
Thank you very much, Lee, as you